So after the 6 weeks were over, they gave us an opportunity to take our test. And so I signed up to take the test, I think towards the end of June. And so the thing about the test back then was you could take a paper test or you could take the computer test. And so I had never taken a computer test at that point, so I naturally figured taking a paper test would make the most sense. And taking the paper test was like when you would go take the ACT or SAT. It was like a room full of people, you know, same exact process. And so it was kind of like one of those things that, you know, it just was a sense of familiarity and it just made sense to do. And they were trying to push people to take the computer test, which I think today you can only take a computer test. So that's how things have changed. This was like 2007 when I went through this process. And so I went to take the test, and I'll be honest, I really didn't prepare for the test the way I should have. Now, people were saying how the special education test was something you were going to have to put some effort into, you know, and you were going to have to, you know, study, because the one that you're going to deal with is law, and the law that, especially law, is not something that is common knowledge. It's not something that you just sit there and you watch the news and they talk about special ed law, or you just understand it growing up or whatever. So that's, you know, I didn't take it that serious, and I just kind of tried to cram the night before, and I paid the price for doing it. I ended up not passing the test. I ended up failing the test by 1 or 2 questions. And so what I had the opportunity to do, though, was because I took the paper test, I could go and now I still had the opportunity to go and take the computer test, because somehow they didn't have those 2 things like aligned. So I couldn't take another paper test until, let's say, mid-August, I think. But that was going to be too late. Like, I wasn't going to be able to get hired until I was actually, like, I passed my test. And so, but the computer test, I was able to take it at this point, a week later. But the catch was, if I didn't pass the computer test this time, I wasn't going to be able to take another computer test, I think, for like another 90 days. So all the stakes, it was all in. If I'm going to get a teaching job, it's going to be based on at least the first barriers. I got to pass this test, this next test. And so I took the computer test, I think maybe 3, 4, maybe days, maybe a week later. I ended up getting the results, ended up passing the test. And so now I was able to get a job.